My life was a white box. I'm Ethan. I'm a food photographer, and my entire career is built on control. I work in a pristine studio, where the light is measured in Kelvin, the shadows are edited out, and the food is precisely misted to look perpetually fresh. My goal is to eliminate all trace of chaos, dirt, or reality. I sell perfection. My current project, a massive glossy cookbook demanding authenticity, was driving me insane. The publisher wanted photos of ingredients in their natural state. I needed a guide, a connection to this chaotic, unpredictable world I usually only saw through a macro lens. That's how I ended up hiring Sam. Sam was a foraging guide. He was the opposite of my sterile existence. He was rugged, smelled faintly of pine and wood smoke, and had a practical, quiet confidence that was deeply unnerving. He met me at the edge of the Washington State Forest, his hands covered in dirt, holding a woven basket. "You're the photographer," he said, not as a question. He looked at my expensive hiking gear, which looked like it had never seen a trail. "You got a specific list?" "Yes," I said, pulling out my laminated shot list. "I need chanterelles, wild ramps, and about 3 dozen perfect dew-covered elderberries. I need to shoot them all before 4 p.m., when the light shifts too much." Sam just shook his head, a slow, easy movement. "The forest doesn't do requests, man. We'll take what she gives us. And 4 p.m. is when the light gets good. We're working on the forest's schedule, not yours." We were oil and water. For the first 2 hours of our hike, I was a liability. I hated the dirt. I hated the bugs. I kept falling behind, fussing with my gear, complaining about the humidity messing with my lens. Sam, patient but firm, just kept moving. "You're fighting the mountain, Ethan," he said once, waiting for me to catch up. "It's bigger than you. Just walk." I was struggling. My aesthetic, my perfect, controlled light, was impossible out here. The sun kept filtering through the canopy, creating harsh, distracting shadows. The wind kept moving the leaves. My vision, a clean, solitary mushroom on a bed of perfect moss, was being ruined by the actual, messy, organic reality of the woods. The crisis hit when we found the chanterelles. They were perfect. A small, brilliant patch of gold and apricot under a fallen log. I set up my massive tripod, attached my softbox diffuser, and spent 10 frantic minutes adjusting my flash settings to kill the shadow of the log. I needed perfection. Just as I finalized the setting, a sudden gust of wind, a purely chaotic, unplannable act of nature, hit the canopy. A shower of dirt, pine needles, and a branch fragment rained down, knocking my diffuser screen completely off the frame. It fell onto the moss. The light, now raw and brutal, ruined the shot. I let out a yell of pure, frustrated rage. It wasn't just anger at the wind. It was anger at the chaos, at the lack of control, at the possibility of failure. I grabbed my expensive light stand, ready to throw it into the trees. "This is useless," I screamed. "I can't do this. I can't control the light. I can't control the dirt. I'm failing." I was having a professional meltdown. I was hyperventilating, tears of frustration blurring my vision. My perfect, controlled world had collapsed in the dirt. Sam was on me in an instant. He didn't yell. He didn't pity me. He put his hands, his big, rough, earth-stained hands, firmly on my shoulders. "Hey, stop," he ordered, his voice sharp but close. "Put the camera down. Now." I was shaking, but I obeyed. I gently placed the camera on the ground. "Look at this," he commanded. He picked up a handful of damp, spongy moss and a small, curved piece of light-colored birch bark. "What is the forest giving us?" "Dirt," I choked out. "No, it's giving us a soft box." He gently arranged the moss on the bright side of the mushrooms. He then held the curved birch bark in the other hand, angling it. The white surface of the bark bounced the filtered sunlight from the canopy, diffusing it perfectly and softly filling in the shadow cast by the log. It was a perfect, natural light setup. "You try to control the light, you lose," he said, his voice low. "You let the light use the environment, and it works. Now pick up your camera, and just shoot." I knelt in the dirt, my knees sinking into the damp moss. My meticulous setup was gone. All I had was my camera, his 2 hands holding the birch bark and the moss, and the simple, perfect scene. I looked through the viewfinder. The light was stunning. It was soft, organic, and real. It was everything the publisher had asked for. I took the shot, then another, and another. The rage was gone, replaced by a deep, powerful focus. Sam finally pulled the moss and bark away, standing up. "That'll do it. Now we move on." I stayed kneeling. I looked at the dirt, then at my hands, which were covered in mud and moss. I looked at him. He was just packing up his basket, ready to walk away, already moving on to the next task. He saw it all as part of the job. "How did you know how to do that?" I asked, my voice raw. He shrugged, zipping his pack. "It's just light, man. You listen to it. You don't tell it what to do." I stood up. I was shaking, not from panic, but from the emotional exhaustion of the breakthrough. He hadn't just fixed my shot, he had fixed my philosophy. He had shown me that my fear of chaos was the only thing standing between me and my best work. I walked up to him. He looked at me, confused by my intensity. "Thank you, Sam," I said, and the words were inadequate. "It's the job," he said, pulling his strap over his shoulder. "No, it's not," I said. I looked at his face, at his clear, kind, perceptive eyes. He had seen me at my most pathetic, and he had responded not with judgment, but with a better tool. I reached out, and I put my hands on his chest, right over his heart. He froze, surprised by the touch. "I'm tired of fighting everything," I whispered. He just looked at me, his gaze holding mine. He didn't push me away. He let me stay there. "Then stop fighting," he said, his voice low. I closed the space between us. I stood on my toes, and I kissed him. It was a soft, tentative kiss, tasting of dirt, pine, and honest sweat. His lips were chapped and rough, but they were warm and solid. He didn't pull away. He didn't deepen the kiss. He just accepted it, his hands coming up slowly to cup the back of my head, holding me steady in the place where I had finally stopped fighting. It was a kiss of profound, unexpected gratitude and connection, rooted deep in the dirt of the forest floor.